Welcome to History Love, where we explore the stories, people, and events that shaped our world. Let's dive into the past and uncover history's most fascinating moments. Battle of Agua Dulce. The sun hung high over the Texas plains, casting long shadows over the land as the fate of a revolution was decided in blood and fire. The air was thick with the tension of war, as men prepared themselves for a battle that would leave its mark on history. Among them was James Grant, a man whose ambitions stretched far beyond the dusty plains of Texas. He had once walked the halls of British power, a man of strategy and vision, but now he rode under a different banner, fighting for a cause that many believed was already lost. Grant was not alone in his convictions. Beside him rode Placido Benavides, a Tejano leader whose heart burned with the desire for freedom, and Reuben Brown, a man of quiet determination who had seen too much death in his time. Together, they led a band of men across the rugged terrain, searching for allies and supplies, unaware that the enemy was already closing in. The night before the battle, the camp was alive with hushed conversations and the occasional nervous laughter. The men sat around the fire, speaking of home, of victories won and lost, of what awaited them in the days to come. Yet, as the embers crackled, a messenger rode into camp under the cover of darkness, bringing whispers of Mexican troops moving in their direction. Grant listened but dismissed the warning. He had been assured by informants that the local Federalists would rise against the Mexican forces, turning the tide of the war in their favor. He had no reason to believe otherwise. But the enemy was not far. General José de Urrea, a man as ruthless as he was strategic, had been tracking their movements with unrelenting precision. He knew the land well, knew the weaknesses of his prey, and he waited for the perfect moment to strike. Under the cover of night, his troops moved silently, positioning themselves at Agua Dulce Creek, a well-known crossing point. Hidden within the trees, they waited, like wolves before the kill. Morning came with a sense of uneasy calm. The sun glared down on the riders as they made their way toward San Patricio, unaware of the trap that lay ahead. Grant, Benavides, and Brown rode ahead of the column, scanning the horizon for any sign of danger, but the landscape betrayed nothing. The rest of the men followed at a steady pace, their minds occupied with thoughts of the road ahead. And then the world erupted. The first shots came from the trees, a barrage of musket fire tearing through the air. Horses screamed, men shouted, and chaos reigned as the Mexican cavalry surged forward, cutting down Texians before they could even raise their weapons. The element of surprise was absolute. The ambush was swift and merciless, the Texians falling like leaves in a storm. Grant and his closest riders turned back toward the battle, their hands tightening around their weapons. Brown dismounted, his rifle steady as he picked off advancing soldiers, while Benavides fought with the fury of a man who had everything to lose. Grant, ever the tactician, shouted orders, trying to rally his men, but the fight was already slipping from their grasp. The retreat was desperate. 5 men attempted to flee into a nearby village, hoping to find cover, but the Mexican infantry pursued them without mercy. Some were captured, others disappeared into the wilds, their fate unknown. Grant, Brown, and Benavides rode hard, their horses kicking up dust as they tore across the plains. But the enemy was relentless. A well-aimed shot struck Grant's horse, sending him tumbling to the ground. Brown turned back, helping his fallen leader onto another mount, but the delay was costly. The cavalry swarmed, their lances striking with deadly precision. Grant fell once more, surrounded by enemy soldiers, his fate sealed in the blood-soaked earth. Brown fought to the end, using whatever he could to fend off his attackers. A lance found his arm, but he refused to surrender, hurling his empty pistol at the nearest officer. It was only when he was lassoed, dragged down by sheer force, that his struggle finally came to an end. He was taken captive, brought back to the battlefield where the wounded and dying lay in the dirt. Among them was Joseph Carpenter, barely clinging to life, begging for mercy. A single gunshot silenced his pleas. When the dust settled, the battlefield was a grim testament to the cost of war. The Mexican soldiers gathered the surviving horses, their spoils of victory. The prisoners were sent to Matamoros, spared only by the intervention of Francita Olives, a woman whose compassion defied the brutal orders of the Mexican command. Urrea, ever the pragmatist, had won the day, but the Battle at Agua Dulce was only one step in a campaign that would see more blood spilled before the land knew peace. For the Texians, the loss was devastating. The dream of the Matamoros expedition lay in ruins, crushed beneath the weight of military precision and cold reality. As news of the defeat reached Goliad, James Fannin, their commander, faced an impossible choice: to stand and fight, or to retreat and preserve what remained of their force. His hesitation would prove costly. In the days to come, Urrea would descend upon Goliad, and history would remember what happened next as the Goliad Massacre. The Battle of Agua Dulce was more than just a skirmish. It was a turning point in the Texas Revolution. It was a moment where hope clashed against the unyielding tide of war, where men fought not just for victory, but for survival. And in the end, the land bore witness to their sacrifice, holding their stories within its soil, waiting for history to tell them once more. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to History Love. Together, let's keep the love for history alive. See you in the next chapter.